Welcome to Time Before Us, the channel where ancient history breathes again. Before time had a name. Before the first human breath, there existed a world fierce, forgotten, and alive. Creatures of scale and silence, predators wrapped in feathers, titans that shook the earth, lives erased, bones buried beneath eternity. But they are not lost. They are waiting. This is Time Before Us, where prehistory worlds rise again, and the stories buried in stone finally speak. Chapter 1. When the world was quiet. Earth before the dinosaurs, approx. 1,333 words. Close your eyes for a moment. And imagine silence, not the silence of a quiet room. Not the hush of midnight in a forest. This silence is deeper, older. It's the kind that comes before birdsong, before wind through trees, before the first footsteps of anything with bones. Now, let's drift back. Way back. Not millions of years. Hundreds of millions. To a time when Earth didn't quite feel like Earth. The land was still learning to be land. The oceans still churning with uncertainty. And the sky. The sky was a strange, hazy canvas of colors no human has ever truly seen. There were no dinosaurs yet. Not even a whisper of them. No roars, no claws, no bones to bury. Just a young planet glowing from the inside out. This was the Precambrian, the longest chapter in Earth's history. A time when life, if you could call it that, was small and secretive. Microscopic organisms floated in the oceans like stars scattered in a dark sea. They didn't move much. They didn't need to. All they had to do was survive and quietly, over eons, invent the future. You see, even silence can be productive. In the darkness of ancient oceans, the first spark of life flickered. We're talking about simple cells, little more than sacks of chemicals that knew how to replicate. They didn't have eyes, or mouths, or thoughts, but they had potential. And potential, as you'll find throughout this journey, is where all great stories begin. These tiny organisms began to release oxygen as a byproduct. At first, the Earth didn't know what to do with it. Oxygen was toxic to many early life forms. But over millions of years, the atmosphere shifted. The skies cleared. The oceans grew richer. And somewhere in this quiet chemical ballet, something incredible started to happen. Multicellular life. At first, it was soft and simple. Think jelly-like blobs resting on the seafloor. Strange, leaf-shaped creatures with no heads, no eyes, nothing we'd recognize. But they were a hint, a foreshadowing. Life was starting to experiment, and with experimentation came beauty. The Earth itself was changing. 2. Volcanoes erupted in slow motion. Tectonic plates danced their grinding, molten waltz. Continents were born and torn apart. Mountains rose only to crumble again. The air smelled of minerals and storms. Yet, in the oceans, it was becoming busy. By the time we reached the Cambrian period, around 540 million years ago, life gets bold, colorful, strange. This was the Cambrian explosion, a moment in deep time when evolution pressed the accelerator. Suddenly, eyes appeared, shells, legs, claws, still no dinosaurs, not yet. But their distant ancestors were stirring. Creatures like anomalocaries, with wide circular mouths and undulating fins, ruled the seas. Trilobites scuttled along the ocean floor, their segmented bodies etched like armor. And deep beneath, in the dark, jawless fishes swam quietly, sensing movement with the kind of calm confidence that only ancient animals seem to have. It's tempting to think of these creatures as primitive, but they were marvels. Tiny puzzles perfectly suited to their world. A world that was still, for the most part, underwater. The land, meanwhile, was barren. No trees, no flowers, not even grass. Just windswept rock, volcanic plains, and the occasional mossy coating of green. But then, quietly, and with great patience, plants appeared. Mosses and liverworts were the first pioneers. clinging to damp stones like brave explorers on an alien shore. They had no roots, no flowers, just the will to survive where nothing else could. And because of them, the atmosphere began to shift again. More oxygen, more opportunity. Insects followed, millipedes, then the first creatures with backbones, slowly crawling from the water to explore a brand new world. The silence was ending. By now, hundreds of millions of years had passed. Time moved like syrup, slow and sticky, but always forward. Earth was no longer a silent rock in space. It had become a stage, and the actors were getting bigger. We enter the Devonian period, often called the Age of Fishes. Oceans teemed with armored predators like Dunkleosteus, a terrifying but elegant creature with a steel-trap jaw and a body shaped like a submarine. Coral reefs bloomed, creating underwater cities of color and life. On land, the first forests emerged. Giant ferns and towering club mosses swayed in humid breezes. They didn't bloom like modern trees. Flowers wouldn't come for another 100 million years. But they created shade, oxygen, and shelter. And into this green hush came the first amphibians, awkwardly crawling onto land, gasping in the new air. They were clumsy, slow, vulnerable, but they were here, and they would change everything. By the time we reached the Carboniferous period, Earth had become something out of a dream, or maybe a fever dream. Swamps covered vast continents. Dragonflies the size of hawks buzzed through the air, their wings catching golden light. Giant centipedes as long as your leg crept through thick underbrush. The oxygen levels were so high, life could grow to astonishing sizes, and it did. But it was still a world in progress. Dinosaurs? Still nowhere in sight, yet their stage was nearly set. Because in the next chapter, just after this one, something incredible happens. Reptiles begin to rise. They're not dinosaurs yet, but they're close enough to feel the echoes of what's coming. The world is no longer quiet. It hums. It breathes. And somewhere, in the dense, fern-filled shadows, the first true ancestors of the giants to come are beginning to take shape. And as you lay here now, listening, imagining, remember this: before the mighty Tyrannosaurus, before the spiked tail of Stegosaurus or the soaring wings of Pteranodon, there was silence, there was moss. There was a quiet, patient earth. And it was beautiful. Chapter 2, The First Giants, Dawn of the Dinosaurs, now unfolding in even greater detail and texture, flowing as one immersive story. Picture Earth about 230 million years ago, in the waning Triassic. There was no Jurassic lushness yet, no fern-choked jungles or towering conifers. Instead, you stood on a vast expanse of cracked terrain, a dusty agate of dry riverbeds, scattered oases, and sparse green pockets. The world felt young and raw, full of impermanence. Clouds drifted lazily across a pale sky, while distant storms whispered distant promises of rain, drying slower than they came. Among ancient ferns and horsetails, something low and lithe stirred. You'd almost miss it if you weren't watching closely. Eoraptor, a small, curious creature not much bigger than your hand extended, yet alive with restless movement. It scampered on two lean legs, its tail stiff as a counterbalance, its eyes bright with instinct and hunger. Its body was a mosaic, the bones hollowed for lightness, limbs built for swiftness, and skin patterned to melt into the shadows. It was not a predator nor prey in the classic sense. It was both, and neither. A creature built for adaptability. In a world made for endurance, Eoraptor's jaw flicked open and closed, testing environment and opportunity alike. Sharp, serrated teeth at the front, flat molars behind, a dual toolset that whispered of resourcefulness. It was an early pioneer, finding nourishment wherever it could, plants, insects, small lizards. A survivor, not a conqueror. Not far away, through the shifting golden light, another shape emerged. Taller, sleeker, Herrerasaurus, It moved with intention. The difference was in the weight behind each footstep, the fluid pivot of its tail, the quiet anticipation in its gaze. Bipedal, yes, but with a quiet power that made every element of its existence feel predatory. Herrerasaurus was strong enough to hunt, but patient enough to wait. Fierce but restrained. Even here, in the earliest chapters of the dinosaur story, subtlety outweighed brute force. Around them, the air vibrated with the presence of other creatures. Armored archosaurs lumbered nearby, their bulk splitting. Ferns with slow steps. Ancient amphibians croaked in muddy waterholes. Crocodile relatives slithered in shadows. These dinosaurs were outsiders, quietly growing into power. Behind it all, Pangaea, that ancient supercontinent, stretched under a relentless sun. Days blistered. Nights dropped shadows but retained heat. Rivers ran seasonally, swelling and retreating with sudden storms. Volcanoes exhaled ash that drifted across the sky, dimming light and reddening dawn. It was a world of extremes and balances, where survival favored those who moved swiftly and grew even faster. Those early dinosaurs were built for movement. Their respiration, skeletons, metabolism, all seemed honed for efficiency. Some paleontologists believe they may have been partially warm-blooded, thriving where others could not. Not dominance, adaptation. And then catastrophes came, not fictional, but real. Eruptions, mass extinctions, climate swings. Ancient megafauna, dominant for. Eons faded under environmental collapse. The old rulers crumbled and left behind opportunity. The dinosaurs, resilient, filled the void. Imagine Eoraptors skirting foggy riverbanks, scaled legs barely stirring windblown sand, stopping only when soft rustles hinted at movement, maybe an insect, maybe something richer. Its heart raced. Not in fear, but anticipation. Survival is often about waiting for the right moment. Nearby, Herrerasaurus padded in silence, not because it could not roar, but because it didn't need to announce itself. It paused. A small creature fled. Then, wells. Horn clams clapping, water dripping. The forest world dove into hush. Herrerasaurus tilted its head and held its breath. The predator's gaze followed a fleeing form into dimness. And though hunger tugged, it remained motionless. Survival is flexible, but patience is powerful. This world wasn't a battleground. It was an audition. Life learning to optimize, evolve, outlast. Let your awareness drift forward. Picture the Triassic night as heat exhaled, cooling slowly. Stars emerged, distant, unblinking light on a sky no human has seen. The nocturnal chatter of creatures small and secretive filled the air. Maybe a soft trill from early amphibians. The low hum of insects, a distant croak echoing among rock. Dinosaurs, if they made sounds, were more murmurs than roars. A quiet conversation you might hardly hear but feel in the chest. Across continents, from Gondwana to Laurasia, the early dinosaurs trekked. Hunted, survived, their bones, light yet strong, pressed into mud and stone, leaving imprints that would one day tell tales of tomorrow's kings. Consider their legacy. From these slight shadows come the long-necked sauropods, the armored ankylosaurs, the soaring pterosaurs, the feathered raptors. They weren't born as thunderstorms. They were slow-building echoes springing from footfalls like these. Echoes that spread across millions of years, changing continents, lives, ideas. So as the night drew near, the air cooled enough to soothe. Scales. The dinosaurs, the quiet, persistent runners, paused beneath a canopy of tall horsetails, watching the shifting skies. Even then, in hushed moments, the earth felt pregnant with promise. You too may be quiet right now, listening, breathing, waiting for tomorrow's steps. And yet, in silence, life shapes itself. And perhaps that's the most enduring chapter of all, how greatness begins in hushed beginnings, invisible at first, then unmistakable. Chapter 3: The Triassic Twilight, a Strange New World Long Before. Towering Jurassic forests are the thunderous steps of giant sauropods. Earth was immersed in an enigmatic twilight, a time when continents drifted slowly, landscapes shifted, and life itself seemed to hold its breath. The Triassic period was this strange new world's heartbeat, a chapter written not in bold strokes, but in quiet, subtle shifts that would set the stage for everything to come. Imagine standing on the cracked, sun-baked soils of Pangaea, the supercontinent still whole but slowly unraveling. The air is dry but heavy, shimmering with heat in the day and cooling just enough under a sky streaked with twilight hues. There are no vast forests here yet, no gigantic trees reaching for the heavens, but pockets of resilient plants cling to. Life ferns and cycads, hardy conifers with spiky leaves that shimmer faintly in the waning light. These survivors of ancient eras carpet the ground, their whispers stirred by gentle winds that carry the scent of distant volcanic ash. As the sun sinks, shadows lengthen, and strange creatures emerge from their hiding places. The world is quieter now, but alive in ways you can almost feel vibrating beneath your skin. Among low-lying plants, small reptiles skitter, their movements quick and cautious. These are the ancestors of the mighty dinosaurs, but they are far from the kings they will one day become. Their bodies are slender, limbs built for agility rather than raw power. They move with an awkward elegance, learning to navigate a world still very much in flux. The rivers that thread through the landscape are shallow but vital, providing lifelines for a patchwork of species. Near the water's edge, a tiny, delicate creature drinks carefully, its head lowered just enough to sense any disturbance. These waters teem with early amphibians, creatures that seem both alien and familiar, half at home in the water, half yearning for land. Their eyes peek from beneath the surface, watching the twilight unfold, wary of the dangers that lurk both above and below. Farther afield, the land is dotted with the hulking forms of primitive reptiles, some bearing strange armored plates or oddly shaped skulls that make them look more like creatures of myth than real life. These were not dinosaurs, but their distant cousins, and their presence is a reminder that the story of life in the Triassic is complex, filled with many players jockeying for survival. Some are built for crushing power, others for speed, and many for stealth. Their competition is fierce but quiet, like a chess game played in slow motion, each move measured and cautious. As twilight deepens, the temperature falls, and the night air fills with unfamiliar sounds, the distant croaks of amphibians, the rustle of leaves as nocturnal creatures begin to stir. The sky above darkens to a velvet black, studded with stars that shine with a brilliance unfiltered by modern pollution. Here, beneath that ancient canopy, the early dinosaurs retreat to rest, curling in the shelter of rocky outcrops or beneath sparse vegetation. Their hearts beat steadily, slow and calm, a fragile peace before the dawn of a new era. But the Triassic was not a stable time. It was a period of transition and turbulence. Deep within the Earth, tectonic forces were at work, rending Pangaea apart in a slow, relentless dance. Volcanoes awakened, belching smoke and ash into the sky, their eruptions reshaping landscapes and climates. These cataclysms were harsh but also creative, clearing old growth, creating new habitats, and forcing life to adapt or perish. The Triassic twilight was a crucible, forging the resilience and diversity that would define the age of dinosaurs. In this strange new world, life was both fragile and fierce. Species emerged, flourished briefly, and vanished, leaving traces in the fossil record that scientists now unearth like clues to an ancient mystery. The early dinosaurs, still modest in size and influence, were quietly testing their limits. Their bodies evolved to meet new challenges: longer legs for faster running, sharper claws for grasping prey, more efficient lungs for sustained activity. They were learning to harness the power of their environment, to exploit niches others could not. Consider the subtle shifts in the environment itself. The dry heat of the day gave way to the cool dampness of night, creating microclimates where life could take hold in different forms. Some creatures adapted to the heat, developing scales that reflected sunlight or burrowing habits that kept them safe. Others thrived in the shadows, eyes large and sensitive to faint light, bodies built for silence and surprise. These adaptations speak to the creativity of life, the endless dance between challenge and response. The Triassic twilight was also a time of great geographic change. As Pangaea cracked, new coastlines formed, shallow seas invaded land and mountain ranges rose. These shifts fragmented populations, creating isolated pockets where evolution could experiment. Species diverged, developing unique traits in response to their specific environments. This geographic patchwork was the stage for the explosion of diversity that would follow, the dawning of the Jurassic Age when dinosaurs truly came into their own. Amidst this backdrop of change, life persisted with a quiet determination. The small dinosaurs of the Triassic were the unsung heroes of this story. They weren't the largest or the most fearsome, but they were adaptable, agile, and persistent. They represent the promise of life's resilience, the capacity to endure upheaval and seize opportunity. As you imagine this ancient twilight, it's impossible not to feel a sense of wonder. Here, at the dawn of the dinosaur era, life was writing its first tentative lines in a grand epic that would span millions of years. The world was strange, unpredictable, and beautiful, a place of endless possibility. So next time you gaze at the stars, remember the Triassic twilight. Remember the small creatures moving silently through the fading light, the shifting continents beneath their feet, and the slow, steady rhythm of a planet finding its voice. In their story, we find a reflection of our own and eternal dance of change, survival, and hope. Chapter 4. Sleeping under the stars. A night with the sauropods. Twilight fades into a deep indigo sky sprinkled with countless stars. The ancient forests settle into a peaceful hush. Here, in the shadowed silence beneath towering conifers and ginkgos, the giants begin to stir the sauropods, those gentle titans with necks stretched like bridges between earth and sky, moving with deliberate grace as night cloaks the world. Around them, these colossal creatures, some reaching lengths longer than a city bus, were masters of slow movement, not speed or stealth. Their massive legs, pillars of muscle and bone, carried them steadily through dense undergrowth and shallow streams, carefully avoiding the fragile seedlings that would become the forests of tomorrow. Despite their enormous size, their steps often made surprisingly little noise, each footfall cushioned by thick, fleshy pads that absorbed shock, allowing them to tread lightly on the soft ground. As you observe quietly from a distance, it's easy to imagine their lives unfolding in a rhythm dictated by patience and calm. They weren't hunters chasing prey or creatures of sudden bursts of energy. Instead, sauropods moved like walking ecosystems, gardens on the move, bringing life wherever they wandered. Their long necks stretched high into the canopy, plucking leaves and branches with delicate precision, stripping entire trees in a slow but steady feast. It's a world of contrasts, the immense and the gentle intertwined. These giants had hearts the size of small cars, pumping blood through their colossal bodies. Their lungs were marvels of evolution, built to sustain the slow, deep breaths that matched their unhurried pace. As the cool night air filled their lungs, the forest seemed to breathe with them, a shared pulse between creature and environment. The stars overhead gleamed like distant campfires, scattered across the dark canvas of night. The moon, a pale guardian, cast silver light on the sauropods' skin, thick, rough, but surprisingly supple in places. You can almost see the texture, the tiny scales that protected them from insects, the scars of ancient battles with rivals, or the harsh terrain, the occasional dust of dirt and leaves clinging to their massive bodies. There's a quiet dignity in their presence, A reminder that power doesn't always roar, it sometimes whispers. Around them, smaller creatures go about their own nocturnal lives. Insects hum softly, their movements barely perceptible against the vast backdrop of the forest. Early mammals scurry in the underbrush, quick shadows darting between fallen logs and tangled roots, their tiny eyes bright with curiosity and caution. The world of the sauropods is not solitary. It's a complex web of relationships where every being, large or small, plays a role in maintaining balance. Imagine the conversations these creatures might have shared if they could speak a slow exchange of scents and sounds that told stories of weather changes, food sources, and hidden dangers. Sauropods might have communicated through low-frequency rumbles, vibrations traveling through the ground like distant thunder, a language felt more than heard. These signals would ripple across the forest floor, connecting individuals miles apart in a silent network of understanding. As night deepens, the temperature drops and a gentle mist rises from the nearby rivers, wrapping the forest in a cool embrace. The sauropods begin to settle, finding soft patches of earth or gentle slopes to rest their vast bodies. Their eyes close slowly, heavy lids protecting sensitive membranes as dreams or something like dreams descend. It's hard to imagine such immense creatures surrendering to sleep, but rest was essential for survival, allowing muscles to recover and minds to process the day's experiences. In this moment of stillness, the forest breathes as one. The gentle giants lie like mountains, their bodies a foundation for countless other lives, bugs crawling over their skin, birds nesting in their shoulders, and plants growing in the shadows they cast. Their presence shaped entire ecosystems, influencing plant growth patterns, soil composition, and water distribution. The calm life of the sauropods contrasts sharply with the chaos of other times in Earth's history. They weren't fighters or hunters. They were nurturers in their own way, guardians of balance and stability. Their slow, steady lives remind us that strength often lies not in speed or aggression, but in endurance and harmony with the world around us. As dawn approaches, a soft golden glow begins to filter through the trees, waking the forest and stirring its inhabitants. The sauropods rise, stretching their necks toward the light, ready to begin another day in the ancient wilderness. Their footsteps once again stir the earth, a slow rhythm that echoes through time. Watching them, it's impossible not to feel a deep sense of awe and respect. These gentle titans carried the world on their shoulders, living monuments to resilience and grace. Their story is one of patience, connection, and quiet power, a reminder that sometimes the most profound strength lies in simply being present, moving steadily forward, and sleeping peacefully under the stars. Chapter 5. Tiny Feet in the Mai. Ferns, the world of miniature dinosaurs, in the shadow of towering giants. Beneath the vast limbs of ancient conifers and ferns, a quieter, smaller world unfolded. It's easy to imagine dinosaurs only as colossal creatures, massive beasts shaking the earth with every step. But the story of the dinosaurs is far richer and more diverse than just size and power. Hidden among the leaves, darting through undergrowth, and skittering across forest floors were the miniature dinosaurs, creatures sometimes no bigger than the chickens you might find in a backyard today. These tiny beings lived vibrant, curious lives, full of energy and endless discovery. Picture a misty morning, the ground damp and cool beneath a thick canopy of ferns that swayed gently in a faint breeze. The air is filled with the soft sounds of rustling leaves, the gentle drip of condensation falling from leaf tips, and the distant call of prehistoric birds, descendants of these very small dinosaurs. Here, among the shadows and dappled sunlight, the miniature dinosaurs ruled a delicate kingdom. One such creature, no larger than a modern-day robin, moves with nervous excitement. Its skin gleams faintly with iridescent scales that catch the soft light, shifting colors as it darts through the ferns. This is Frutatans, one of the smallest known dinosaurs, its size belying an intelligence and curiosity that would rival much larger species. It sniffs the air cautiously, its beady eyes sharp and alert. The world around it is both beautiful and dangerous, a maze of giant leaves, hiding predators and plenty of food alike. Unlike their towering cousins, these tiny dinosaurs relied on speed, agility, and wits. Their legs were slender but strong, built for quick bursts of movement to escape the attention of larger hunters or to capture small insects and plants. Their tails acted like balancing rods, allowing rapid changes in direction as they chased prey or navigated complex terrain. These dinosaurs were masters of the micro-world, exploiting niches too small or precarious for bigger animals. As the day warms, Frutatans pauses near a cluster of ancient horsetails, peering cautiously around. The fern fronds tower above like green skyscrapers, rustling softly with the wind. Between the thick stalks, insects buzz and crawl, a veritable feast for such a small dinosaur. It darts forward, snapping up a beetle with lightning speed, then darts back into cover. Survival here demanded constant vigilance and quick reflexes, but life wasn't all chase and escape. These miniature dinosaurs also played a role in the ecosystem far beyond their size. Their feeding habits helped control insect populations, and in turn, they dispersed seeds and spores, aiding the growth of the very plants they called home. They were small gardeners in a vast prehistoric jungle, integral to the balance of life. Their senses were finely tuned. They could see well in low light, allowing them to forage early in the morning or late into twilight, when larger predators were less active. Their hearing was acute, detecting even the faintest rustle of a stalking threat, and their sense of smell helped them find food and avoid danger in a world where hiding spots were often limited. Social behaviors likely varied among species, but some evidence suggests these tiny dinosaurs might have lived in small groups or family units. Imagine flocks of delicate creatures moving together through the underbrush, communicating with chirps and calls, sounds that must have been soft and quick, like the rustling of leaves. These groups would offer protection, allowing individuals to watch for danger while others foraged or rested. Despite their size, some miniature dinosaurs showed surprising levels of intelligence. Their brains, though small, were complex, with parts devoted to processing sensory information and coordinating swift movements. They were problem solvers, adapting to changing conditions, and perhaps even using basic strategies to outwit predators or competitors. The world they inhabited was a patchwork of lush plants and shallow waterways. Early lakes and rivers teemed with life, amphibians, insects, and small fish, all part of the vibrant food web. The miniature dinosaurs moved seamlessly between these environments, drinking from streams, basking in sun-dappled clearings, and slipping through dense vegetation with practiced ease. Nightfall brought new challenges and new rhythms. As the temperature cooled, the miniature dinosaurs sought shelter among the ferns, curled in tight clusters, or hidden in burrows dug into soft earth. Predators prowled under the cover of darkness, but these small creatures had evolved keen instincts to survive, relying on camouflage, quick reflexes, and sometimes sheer luck. Their stories are a testament to nature's creativity, proof that success in the ancient world wasn't reserved for the biggest or the fiercest. In fact, in many ways, the miniature dinosaurs thrived by carving out niches the giants could never reach. They remind us that even the smallest creatures can shape history, influence ecosystems, and captivate the imagination. So the next time you see a tiny bird flitting through a garden or a small lizard darting across the grass, remember the miniature dinosaurs, the tiny feet in the ferns, who once ruled the prehistoric underbrush with curious eyes and restless energy. Their legacy lives on, not in the thunderous footsteps of giants, but in the delicate flutter of life's quieter moments. Chapter 6. The Cretaceous Nursery. Baby Dinosaurs and Family Life. In the vast and wild landscapes of the Cretaceous period, where towering giants roamed and fierce predators ruled, there existed a quieter, more delicate world, a world where the future of the dinosaur kingdom was carefully nurtured and fiercely protected. The story of baby dinosaurs and their families is often overshadowed by tales of colossal battles and dramatic hunts. But it is in these intimate moments of care and connection that life's deepest mysteries unfold. This is the nursery of the ancient world, where the tiniest footsteps mark the beginning of epic journeys. Imagine a sheltered clearing near a riverbank, bathed in soft morning light, filtered through broad leaves. Here, the ground is littered with broken eggshells, fragile remnants of life's miraculous beginning. Around these nests, dinosaur parents move with surprising tenderness, their enormous bodies bending carefully to shield their offspring from danger and harsh weather. Far from the cold, solitary creatures often portrayed, many dinosaurs exhibited remarkable behaviors of care and protection, revealing a complex social life that echoes the bonds seen in some modern animals. The process begins with the eggs themselves, laid in carefully constructed nests dug into the earth or hidden among thick vegetation. These nests were often communal, a testament to social cooperation among certain species. The eggs varied in size, some as small as a chicken's, others as large as a football, each one a capsule of potential, harboring the next generation of dinosaurs. The shells were porous, allowing the developing embryos to breathe, but strong enough to provide protection from the elements and curious intruders. Once the eggs hatched, a new chapter began. Baby dinosaurs emerged wet and vulnerable, their eyes blinking against the bright world they had just entered. Their first moments were fraught with peril. Predators lurked nearby, and even the environment itself posed challenges ranging from sudden storms to tricky terrain. Yet, these young dinosaurs were equipped with instincts honed by millions of years of evolution, helping them survive their fragile beginnings. Some species seem to require little parental intervention, their hatchlings capable of moving and feeding almost immediately, like modern reptiles. These young dinosaurs would quickly scamper into the safety of dense foliage or follow their parents in small, wary groups. Others, however, relied heavily on parental care, with mothers and sometimes fathers guiding, feeding, and protecting their young for months or even years. The nurturing behaviors of dinosaurs are among the most fascinating discoveries in paleontology. Fossilized nests show evidence of adults guarding their eggs, brooding like birds, and even using their bodies to shield young from the sun's heat or nighttime cold. There are signs that some species communicated with their offspring through soft vocalizations or gentle touches, building bonds that strengthen survival chances. Imagine a young hadrosaur, covered in downy feathers or soft scales, nestled close to its mother's side. The mother moves slowly, scanning the environment for threats, while the baby mimics her movements, learning essential skills: how to find food, recognize danger, and navigate the ever-changing landscape. This close-knit relationship speaks of trust and affection, emotions that bridge millions of years between then and now. Family life wasn't just about survival, it was about learning and growing. Juvenile dinosaurs underwent rapid development, growing at astonishing rates to keep pace with the demands of their environment. During this time, young dinosaurs explored their surroundings, playing in the safety of family groups, testing their strength and agility. These playful interactions, though rarely preserved in fossils, were vital for developing social skills and physical prowess. Social structures varied widely among species. Some lived in large herds where communal care and protection were the norm. These groups moved together across vast landscapes, their movements a choreography of safety and cooperation. Within these herds, older juveniles sometimes acted as guardians for the very young, forming complex social bonds that enhanced survival. Other species may have lived more solitary lives, with parental care focused on smaller family units. Even in these cases, the emotional connections between parent and offspring would have been strong. The instinct to nurture, protect, and teach is one that resonates deeply across the animal kingdom. And dinosaurs were no exception. The Cretaceous nursery was also a place of constant change. Seasons shifted, food sources waxed and waned, and predators grew more cunning. Baby dinosaurs had to adapt quickly, learning to read the subtle signs of their environment. Their survival depended not just on strength, but on knowledge passed down through generations, the wisdom of how to move, hide, and thrive. As they grew, these young dinosaurs began to explore further, their curiosity matched only by the dangers that awaited. They faced challenges from rival species, harsh weather, and the ever-present threat of starvation. Yet, each challenge was a lesson, shaping them into the creatures they were destined to become. In the quiet moments, when the sun dipped low and the world softened into twilight, family groups would settle together. The parents, ever watchful, kept their young safe, while the babies drifted into rest, their dreams carrying the promise of tomorrow. The bonds forged in these moments were powerful, built on instinct and care, weaving a tapestry of life that would endure through the ages. The story of baby dinosaurs and their families reminds us that beneath the grandeur and spectacle of prehistoric life lies a world of intimacy and connection. These tender moments of parenting and growth are the foundation upon which the epic tale of the dinosaurs was built. They show us a side of these ancient creatures that is often overlooked, a side filled with love, protection, and hope. So when you think of dinosaurs, don't just picture roaring giants or fierce hunters. Picture the soft down of a hatchling, the gentle watchfulness of a parent, and the quiet world of a Cretaceous nursery where life began anew with every season. In this nursery, the future was cradled gently, and the story of the dinosaurs was given the chance to continue. Chapter 7: Feathers, Scales, and Soft Steps. What dinosaurs really looked like. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine stepping back into a world where the ground beneath your feet isn't just dirt and stone, but a tapestry of life where the creatures moving through the underbrush are far from the scaly, cold-blooded monsters often pictured in movies. Instead, picture animals covered in vibrant feathers, delicate down, and intricate patterns of scales shimmering under dappled sunlight. This was the true face of dinosaurs, far more diverse and surprising than the rough reptilian skins many have long believed. For decades, the image of dinosaurs was dominated by the idea of giant reptiles, their thick, cracked hides resembling the tough skin of modern crocodiles or lizards. But fossil discoveries over the past few decades have rewritten that story completely. From tiny raptors no bigger than a turkey to massive herbivores stretching as long as a bus, many dinosaurs wore feathers, not just the small, simple filaments, but fully developed plumes and even elaborate crests that dazzled like living rainbows. Imagine a small dinosaur darting through the ferns, its body cloaked in a soft layer of downy feathers, much like the fuzzy coat of a newborn chick. These feathers served many purposes beyond flight. They helped regulate body temperature, keeping dinosaurs warm during chilly nights and cool during hot days. Some feathers were rigid and strong, perfect for balance and display, while others were light and fluffy, providing insulation and comfort. The texture of these feathers varied widely, some smooth and sleek, others soft and curly, catching the light in surprising ways. Color was another revelation. Paleontologists, by examining microscopic structures in fossilized feathers called melanosums, have been able to infer the colors and patterns dinosaurs may have sported. Picture brilliant oranges and deep blues, iridescent greens that shifted with the angle of light, and bold patterns of stripes and spots used for camouflage or attracting mates. These living colors would have made the prehistoric landscape a dazzling spectacle of life, but feathers were only part of the story. Many dinosaurs retained scales, but these were far from uniform or dull. Scales varied from tiny, smooth plates to rough, bumpy textures, arranged in patterns that gave skin a three-dimensional quality. Some dinosaurs had armored plates, spikes, or even bony knobs embedded in their skin, providing protection and making them look like walking fortresses. The juxtaposition of soft feathers and tough scales created a complex mosaic of textures, a living canvas of adaptation and evolution. Close your eyes again and feel the difference. The soft brush of feathers might remind you of a bird's gentle wing, while the rough scales could resemble the leathery skin of a rhinoceros. The way light bounced off these surfaces would have created a play of shadows and highlights, making dinosaurs appear alive and vibrant, blending seamlessly into their environments or standing out boldly when needed. Feet tell another fascinating story. Dinosaur footprints reveal pads and claws that were both functional and expressive. Many walked softly, their feet cushioned to dampen noise, enabling stealthy movement whether stalking prey or avoiding danger. The way their toes flexed and grasped the earth speaks to agility and balance, hinting at behaviors like climbing, digging, or even intricate courtship dances. Some species even showed evidence of webbing between toes, suggesting semi-aquatic habits or enhanced swimming abilities. Imagine a dinosaur slipping through shallow water, its feet spreading wide to propel it forward with surprising grace, leaving behind a trail of ripples and tracks in soft mud. And then there were the sensory organs: eyes, ears, and noses that brought these creatures fully to life. Many dinosaurs had keen eyesight, with large eyes set forward for depth perception, perfect for hunting or navigating dense forests. Their nostrils, sometimes adorned with delicate crests or flared scales, helped them detect scents carried on the wind, from food sources to the scent markings of rivals. Ears were adapted to pick up a range of sounds, from low-frequency rumbles used to communicate over long distances to the faint rustle of leaves, signaling the approach of danger. These sensory adaptations reveal dinosaurs as creatures finely tuned to their worlds, not just lumbering giants, but animals fully engaged in the rich tapestry of life. Even skin color wasn't always what you might expect. Some dinosaurs likely had skin tones that helped them blend into their environments: earthy browns, greens, and grays, matching forests, deserts, or swamps. Others, particularly those involved in complex social behaviors, may have sported bright, contrasting colors or patterns to signal dominance, attract mates, or warn rivals. The contrasts were remarkable. A dinosaur might have a scaly body with feathers along its arms and tail, a colorful crest atop its head, and stripes running down its neck like a wild jungle cat. This diversity shows evolution at work, crafting unique solutions to the challenges of survival. Perhaps most surprising of all, the discovery that many dinosaurs had feathers links them directly to modern birds. Feathered dinosaurs blur the lines between what we consider reptiles and birds, showing us that the birds singing outside your window today are living relatives of creatures that once roamed vast prehistoric landscapes. In a way, every feathered dinosaur is a reminder of nature's endless creativity and adaptability. Their appearances challenge us to rethink what we thought we knew, inviting us to imagine a world alive with color, texture, and movement, a world where dinosaurs were not just terrifying monsters, but complex, beautiful beings full of life and wonder. So, the next time you picture a dinosaur, try to shake off the old images of rough gray skin and stiff tails. Instead, imagine the soft whisper of feathers in the wind, the glint of iridescent scales catching the sunlight, and the gentle, almost bird-like steps across a prehistoric forest floor. This was the real dinosaur, vibrant, dynamic, and utterly captivating. Chapter 8: Velociraptors After Dark. Myths versus reality. Were they monsters or misunderstood? A slower, more thoughtful look at the famous raptors. Chapter 8: Velociraptors After Dark. Myths versus reality. When the name Velociraptor comes up, many minds instantly conjure images of swift, vicious hunters, monsters leaping out of shadows with razor-sharp claws and terrifying intelligence, as popularized by blockbuster movies. But what if I told you that the truth about these fascinating creatures is far more nuanced, surprising, and dare I say, even more intriguing? The real velociraptors, living in a world vastly different from the one in Hollywood, were neither unstoppable killing machines nor mindless beasts. They were complex animals, with behaviors and lifestyles that challenge many of our preconceived notions. Imagine a cool, moonlit night in the late Cretaceous, around 75 million years ago. The air is thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, and shadows dance beneath the pale glow of stars. This is the world where velociraptors thrived, a landscape filled with sand dunes, sparse forests, and dry riverbeds stretching into the horizon. The raptor, no larger than a modern-day turkey, moves quietly through the underbrush, muscles tensed but not frantic. Contrary to the cinematic lightning speed, velociraptors were more like clever strategists, using stealth, patience, and intelligence to navigate a dangerous environment. One of the biggest myths is their size. In movies, velociraptors appear as hulking beasts, but in reality, they stood about 2 feet tall at the hip and measured roughly 6 feet from snout to tail, small enough to slip unnoticed through dense foliage, yet large enough to be a formidable predator of their time. Their famous sickle-shaped claw, nearly 3 inches long, wasn't just a weapon for slaughter. It was a tool used to grasp, pin down prey, or perhaps even to dig and climb. It's easy to picture it as a monstrous hook, but in real life, it was more precise, almost surgical. What about their infamous intelligence? Velociraptors likely had keen senses, sharp eyesight, excellent hearing, and a brain structure suggesting complex behaviors, perhaps similar in some ways to modern birds of prey or corvids, think crows and ravens. They were likely curious and cautious, capable of problem-solving and communication within their social groups. Some evidence hints at pack behavior, though scientists still debate how organized or cooperative their hunting truly was. Were they the ruthless pack hunters movies depict? Maybe not. But they probably worked together enough to increase their chances of survival. Their feathers, another discovery overturning the old reptilian image, hint at a creature that looked more like a giant feathered bird than a scaly lizard. These feathers weren't just for show, they helped regulate temperature, and may have played a role in mating displays or signaling to others. Imagine a velociraptor fluffing its feathers to appear larger or more impressive, much like modern birds. Far from cold-blooded monsters, these dinosaurs were warm-blooded, active animals, constantly alert and ready to adapt. Velociraptors were also scavengers at times, not just hunters. Life wasn't about constant high-speed chases or brutal fights. It was about energy conservation and smart choices. They likely took advantage of carcasses left by larger predators or hunted smaller prey like lizards, mammals, and even insects. The diversity of their diet paints a picture of a versatile survivor, not just a one-trick predator. And then there's the social side. Recent fossil finds show that some raptors cared for their young, possibly even hunting in family groups. Their communication may have included a range of vocalizations, calls, hisses, and perhaps even clicks. Picture a family of raptors moving quietly together through the shadows, alert to danger but also sharing information. A far cry from the lone, savage hunters depicted on screen. Their environments were harsh and ever-changing, demanding resilience and adaptability. Night brought new threats, larger predators prowling, shifting weather, and the need to find shelter. Velociraptors may have used burrows, dense thickets, or even abandoned nests to protect themselves and their young. In these quieter moments, they showed another side: vulnerability, care, and a connection to their surroundings. Not understanding velociraptors after dark, the real raptors, not the myths, invites us to see these creatures as living, breathing animals shaped by millions of years of evolution. They were neither heroes nor villains of the prehistoric world, but participants in a complex ecosystem, playing roles that balanced aggression with caution, independence with social bonds. So, the next time you hear the word velociraptor, let your mind move beyond the Hollywood roar. Picture a feathered, intelligent creature, moving silently through the moonlit landscape, its eyes bright with curiosity and survival instinct, a master of strategy rather than sheer brute force. In this more thoughtful light, velociraptors become not monsters to fear, but fascinating animals to admire and understand, a testament to the rich and varied tapestry of life that once flourished on Earth. Chapter 9. The forest breathes. Plants, air, and climate in dinosaur times. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a vast prehistoric forest, a place untouched by modern hands, where every breath you take connects you to a time millions of years in the past. The air is thick, not just with oxygen, but with the hum of life, an invisible web of scents, sounds, and sensations that shape this ancient world. This isn't just a backdrop for dinosaurs. It's the very essence of their existence. The plants here are giants of another age. Towering conifers, ancestors of modern pines and firs, stretch their spires skyward, casting long shadows on the forest floor. Their bark is rough and deeply fissured, a patchwork of gray and brown, while their needles release a sharp, resinous aroma that fills the air. Imagine how this scent would mingle with the richer, earthier smells of mosses and decaying leaves, creating a layered perfume unique to the Mesozoic landscape. Interwoven among these giants are cycads, strange and ancient plants that look like a cross between palms and ferns, their stiff, glossy leaves forming crowns atop stout trunks. They add an almost alien texture to the scenery, reminders that life in this era followed different rules. These plants thrived in warm, humid climates and often grew in dense clusters, creating pockets of shade and shelter that became crucial hideouts for smaller dinosaurs and other creatures. On the forest floor, massive ferns unfurl their fronds like delicate green fans, carpeting the ground with a softness that muffles footsteps. The touch of these plants would have been cool and slightly damp to the skin, a constant reminder of the moisture hanging the air. Beneath your feet, the soil is rich and loamy, dark with the remains of countless seasons' growth and decay. Every step might press down a leaf or disturb a tiny insect, sending a whisper of movement rippling through this living tapestry. The atmosphere itself is heavy with humidity. Water vapor rises from nearby rivers and wetlands, wrapping the forest in a warm, almost tangible embrace. The air tastes faintly sweet with organic compounds, a sharp contrast to the fresh, crisp air of modern temperate forests. This moisture is not just a background element. It's a vital part of the ecosystem, influencing everything from plant growth to dinosaur behavior. Now imagine the sounds filling this world. The gentle rustle of leaves, stirred by a passing breeze, creates a constant, soothing backdrop. Occasionally, the snap of a twig underfoot punctuates the quiet, perhaps signaling the movement of a small herbivore or the cautious approach of a predator. Above, the calls of early birds echo through the canopy, chirps, whistles, and trills that weave a melodic thread through the forest soundscape. Insects contribute their own chorus, buzzing dragonflies skimming water surfaces, the low hum of cicadas rising and falling like waves. These sounds are more than noise. They are communication, a language of survival and interaction. The hum of wings might warn of approaching danger or signal the presence of a potential mate. Listening closely, you might detect the faint clicking or tapping of beetles burrowing beneath bark, or the rustling of leaf litter as tiny creatures forage. Dinosaurs themselves added to this orchestra. The deep, resonant bellows of a large herbivore might ripple through the trees, a call to others or a warning to stay clear. The sharp, rapid chirps of smaller species punctuate the air, communicating urgency or curiosity. Even their footsteps create rhythm, sometimes slow and deliberate, other times quick and stealthy, depending on the situation. climate shaped every aspect of the sensory world. The Mesozoic era, particularly the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, was marked by warmer global temperatures and higher atmospheric carbon dioxide levels than we experience today. Without polar ice caps, sea levels were higher, and vast inland seas flooded parts of continents, influencing regional climates. These conditions created lush, often humid environments where rain was frequent and sometimes intense. Imagine standing beneath the canopy as a tropical storm rolls in, the sky darkening and the first heavy drops falling with a steady, soothing drum on leaves and soil. The scent of wet earth rises, sharp and invigorating, mingling with the sweet decay of plants, washed clean by the rain. For dinosaurs, such storms might have brought relief from the heat, but also posed challenges finding shelter, keeping nests safe, and maintaining body temperature. During drier seasons, or in regions further from water, the forest would take on a different character. The air might become warmer and dustier, the undergrowth sparser. Dinosaurs here adapted, their scales or feathers helping them manage water loss and heat. The sun's rays would filter more directly through thinning foliage, casting sharper shadows and changing the visual landscape. This shifting balance between wet and dry, light and shadow, created dynamic habitats that required constant adjustment. Feel the ground beneath your feet change texture from soft, mossy patches that cushion every step to cracked, sun-baked soil that crunches with dry leaves. These variations influenced how dinosaurs moved and hunted. Predators needed to be quiet and careful in mossy areas, while prey animals used the rough terrain to evade capture. In swampy zones, thick mud might trap the unwary, while in rocky outcrops, sharp claws and nimble feet were essential. The air was also alive with invisible chemical signals. Plants released volatile organic compound scents that spread silently, telling of blooming flowers, ripening seeds, or the presence of predators. Some dinosaurs may have had noses sensitive enough to detect these cues from afar, guiding them to food or warning them to flee. Imagine a dinosaur catching the faint hint of a predator's sweat, or the musky odor of a rival, prompting a silent change in behavior. Light added another layer to this sensory experience. The dense canopy created shifting patterns of brightness and shadow, a natural camouflage system. Dinosaurs with feather patterns that mimicked sunlight filtering through leaves could vanish from sight, avoiding detection by both predators and prey. Others, perhaps those involved in mating displays, sported vivid colors that stood out boldly in shafts of sunlight, flashes of red, blue, or gold that caught the eye and sent messages without words. The cycle of day and night brought dramatic changes. As the sun set, the forest quieted in some ways but came alive in others. Nocturnal creatures emerged, their eyes reflecting the faintest light. The cool night air carried different scents: damp moss, flowering night plants, the musky smell of nighttime predators. Dinosaurs active after dark relied on heightened senses to navigate this mysterious world, sensing vibrations through the ground or subtle changes in wind direction. This sensory richness wasn't just background, it was integral to survival. Every smell, sound, and touch was a piece of information. Dinosaurs learned to read the forest like a living book, understanding its rhythms and cues to find food, avoid danger, and communicate with one another. Their bodies, from the sensitive tips of their snouts to the feathers that bristled at the slightest threat, were finely tuned instruments in this complex environment. So when we talk about dinosaurs, it's easy to focus on their size, teeth, and claws, but their sensory world was just as important. To walk in their footsteps, to breathe their air and hear their sounds, is to glimpse a world rich in texture, color, and life, a forest that literally breathed with the rhythms of the rhythms of the rhythms. Past. Next time you find yourself in a forest or garden, pause and take in the smells, the rustling leaves, the play of light and shadow. Imagine the echoes of ancient life woven through those sensations, the soft footsteps of creatures long gone, and the breath of a world that still lives on in the stories fossils tell. This is the forest the dinosaurs knew their home, their sanctuary, and the stage for countless dramas written in the language of nature itself. Chapter 10. A Walk in the Jurassic, Daily. Life of the Middleweights. Imagine waking up in a world untouched by human footsteps, where the gentle light of dawn slips quietly through an endless canopy of towering conifers and ferns. The Jurassic forest is alive, but not with the noisy chaos you might expect. Instead, it breathes softly, almost like a living, breathing organism, pulsing with subtle movement and quiet energy. This is the domain of the middleweight dinosaurs, not the colossal giants or tiny quicksilver sprinters, but creatures perfectly balanced between power and grace. As the sun begins its slow climb, painting the forest floor with golden streaks, these dinosaurs stir gently. Their bodies are designed for endurance and adaptability, moving through the dense greenery with cautious confidence. Their feet touch the mossy ground lightly, careful not to disturb the delicate undergrowth that carpets the forest floor. This isn't just walking, it's a mindful interaction with their world, a dance choreographed by millions of years of evolution. The forest itself is a kaleidoscope of shapes and textures. Massive tree trunks rise like ancient pillars, their bark rough and cracked, covered with patches of lichen and moss. Hanging vines twist and curl, framing patches of sky glimpsed through the branches. The air smells rich and earthy, a blend of damp soil, resin from the conifers, and the faint sweetness of blooming cycads. Imagine breathing that in, each inhale a deep connection to a world long vanished. The middleweights move together in small groups, their interactions subtle but meaningful. Eyes flicker back and forth, scanning for signs of food, danger, or opportunity. They communicate not with loud roars, but with soft chirps, gentle hisses, and body language, a flick of the tail, a tilt of the head, a slow blink. These signals weave a silent conversation that guides their movements and decisions throughout the day. Their diet is diverse, reflecting the varied plant life of the forest. Some nibble delicately on tender shoots and leaves, their teeth shaped more for grinding than tearing. Others may reach higher, stretching their necks to browse on mid-level branches laden with cycads or ferns. Watching them chew slowly and deliberately, you realize these moments are about more than nourishment. They're rituals of survival, patience, and precision. Sometimes their curiosity leads them to explore fallen logs or mushroom clusters, peering beneath leaves or nudging aside small branches. These microhabitats are teeming with life, tiny insects, worms, and even small amphibians. In this world, no detail is too small, no sound insignificant. A sudden rustle in the leaves might mean a lurking predator or just the wind, but every noise demands attention. Movement through the forest is a blend of stealth and awareness. The middleweights know that silence can mean safety, but movement is necessary to find food and water. Their muscles ripple beneath scaly or feathered skin, built for endurance rather than sudden bursts of speed. When a distant roar or crack echoes through the trees, they freeze, nostrils flaring, ears twitching, then decide whether to continue cautiously or retreat into thicker cover. At times, the group pauses beside a clear, bubbling stream, a lifeline. In the lush forest, the water is cold and refreshing, offering more than just hydration. The stream's banks are alive with insects dipping and hovering, while nearby plants release sweet fragrances carried on the moist breeze. Drinking here is a ritual, slow and deliberate, eyes scanning for any sign of threat even as tongues lap up the cool liquid. Rest is woven seamlessly into their day. In patches of filtered sunlight, some dinosaurs settle onto soft beds of moss and leaf litter, folding their legs beneath them with a graceful ease. These moments of stillness feel sacred, a chance to digest, to watch, to breathe in the forest's quiet symphony. The warmth of the sun on their backs is comforting, yet they remain alert, ears tuned to every distant crackle and rustle. Social bonds quietly emerge, nudges, Gentle touches and soft vocalizations reveal a world of connection beyond mere survival. Younger dinosaurs learn by mimicking the adults' movements and behaviors, honing skills they'll need to thrive. The group isn't just a random assembly, but a network of relationships that shape daily life, a subtle community navigating a complex, often dangerous world together. As afternoon fades to evening, the forest's colors deepen and shift. Shadows grow longer, and the air cools, signaling the approach of night. The dinosaurs slow, their movements becoming more deliberate, as if savoring the last warmth of daylight. Shelter becomes a priority. Some seek refuge beneath broad-leafed ferns, their wide fronds providing excellent cover. Others nestle into rocky crevices or dense thickets where the shadows offer protection from nocturnal predators. Night transforms the forest into a different realm. Though these middleweights are primarily diurnal, their senses remain sharp. The forest hums with nocturnal life, the distant calls of croaking amphibians, the fluttering of moths, and the soft footsteps of small mammals or reptiles. The cooler air carries new scents: damp earth, flowering night plants, and the musky presence of creatures that prowl in darkness. Rest at night is lighter, more cautious. The dinosaurs sleep with one eye partly open, alert to the faintest sign of disturbance. Their bodies are adapted for quick awakening, muscles tensing at the slightest vibration, hearts racing to life at a whisper of danger. In these quiet moments, the vulnerability of life is stark, yet so is the resilience that has allowed these creatures to endure for millions of years. Throughout this daily cycle, the middleweights embody a story often overshadowed by their larger or more dramatic cousins. Their lives are a testament to balance between strength and subtlety, caution and curiosity, solitude and community. They are the steady pulse of the Jurassic forest, creatures shaped by an environment that demands both resilience and grace. Walking alongside them, we see a world of intricate detail, a world where every scent, every sound, every texture matters. The forest breathes with life, a dynamic stage where survival unfolds not just in battles, but in moments of quiet beauty and connection. These middleweights move through their days with a rhythm both ancient and timeless, reminding us that life's story is often found in the small, steady steps as much as in the thunderous roar. So, the next time you imagine dinosaurs, picture this: not just the massive giants or fierce hunters, but the middleweights moving softly beneath Jurassic trees. Living lives rich with subtlety and wonder. Their footsteps echo through time, inviting us to walk with them once more in a world as wild and beautiful as any dream. A walk in the Jurassic daily life of the middleweights. Imagine waking up in a world untouched by human footsteps, where the gentle light of dawn slips quietly through an endless canopy of towering conifers and ferns. The Jurassic forest is alive, but not with the noisy chaos you might expect. Instead, it breathes softly, almost like a living, breathing organism, pulsing with subtle movement and quiet energy. This is the domain of the middleweight dinosaurs, not the colossal giants or tiny quicksilver sprinters, but creatures perfectly balanced between power and grace. As the sun begins its slow climb, painting the forest floor with golden streaks, these dinosaurs stir gently. Their bodies are designed for endurance and adaptability, moving through the dense greenery with cautious confidence. Their feet touch the mossy ground lightly, careful not to disturb the delicate undergrowth that carpets the forest floor. This isn't just walking, it's a mindful interaction with their world, a dance choreographed by millions of years of evolution. The forest itself is a kaleidoscope of shapes and textures. Massive tree trunks rise like ancient pillars, their bark rough and cracked, covered with patches of lichen and moss. Hanging vines twist and curl, framing patches of sky glimpsed through the branches. The air smells rich and earthy, a blend of damp soil, resin from the conifers, and the faint sweetness of blooming cycads. Imagine breathing that in, each inhale a deep connection to a world long vanished. The middleweights move together in small, Groups, their interactions subtle but meaningful. Eyes flicker back and forth, scanning for signs of food, danger, or opportunity. They communicate not with loud roars, but with soft chirps, gentle hisses, and body language, a flick of the tail, a tilt of the head, a slow blink. These signals weave a silent conversation that guides their movements and decisions throughout the day. Their diet is diverse, reflecting the varied plant life of the forest. Some nibble delicately on tender shoots and leaves, their teeth shaped, more for grinding than tearing. Others may reach higher, stretching their necks to browse on mid-level branches laden with cycads or ferns. Watching them chew slowly and deliberately, you realize these moments are about more than nourishment. They're rituals of survival, patience, and precision. Sometimes, their curiosity leads them to explore fallen logs or mushroom clusters, peering beneath leaves or nudging aside small branches. These microhabitats are teeming with life, tiny insects, worms, and even small amphibians. In this world, no detail is too small, no sound insignificant. A sudden rustle in the leaves might mean a lurking predator or just the wind, but every noise demands attention. Movement through the forest is a blend of stealth and awareness. The middleweights know that silence can mean safety, but movement is necessary to find food and water. Their muscles ripple beneath scaly or feathered skin, built for endurance rather than sudden bursts of speed. When a distant roar or crack echoes through the trees, they freeze, nostrils flaring, ears twitching, then decide whether to continue cautiously or retreat into thicker cover. At times, the group pauses beside a clear, bubbling stream, a lifeline. In the lush forest, the water is cold and refreshing, offering more than just hydration. The stream's banks are alive with insects dipping and hovering, while nearby plants release sweet fragrances carried on the moist breeze. Drinking here is a ritual, slow and deliberate, eyes scanning for any sign of threat even as tongues lap up the cool liquid. Rest is woven seamlessly into their day. In patches of filtered sunlight, some dinosaurs settle onto soft beds of moss and leaf litter, folding their legs beneath them with a graceful ease. These moments of stillness feel sacred, a chance to digest, to watch, to breathe in the forest's quiet symphony. The warmth of the sun on their backs is comforting, yet they remain alert, ears tuned to every distant crackle and rustle. Social bonds quietly emerge. Nudges, gentle touches, and soft vocalizations reveal a world of connection beyond mere survival. Younger dinosaurs learn by mimicking the adults' movements and behaviors, honing skills they'll need to thrive. The group isn't just a random assembly, but a network of relationships that shape daily life, a subtle community navigating a complex, often dangerous world together. As afternoon fades to evening, the forest's colors deepen and shift. Shadows grow longer, and the air cools, signaling the approach of night. The dinosaurs slow, their movements becoming more deliberate, as if savoring the last warmth of daylight. Shelter becomes a priority. Some seek refuge beneath broad-leafed ferns, their wide fronds providing excellent cover. Others nestle into rocky crevices or dense thickets where the shadows offer protection from nocturnal predators. Night transforms the forest into a different realm. Though these middleweights are primarily diurnal, their senses remain sharp. The forest hums with nocturnal life, the distant calls of croaking amphibians, the fluttering of moths, and the soft footsteps of small mammals or reptiles. The cooler air carries new scents, damp earth, flowering night plants, and the musky presence of creatures that prowl in darkness. Rest at night is lighter, more cautious. The dinosaurs sleep with one eye partly open, alert to the faintest sign of disturbance. Their bodies are adapted for quick awakening, muscles tensing at the slightest vibration, hearts racing to life at a whisper of danger. In these quiet moments, the vulnerability of life is stark, yet so is the resilience that has allowed these creatures to endure for millions of years. Throughout this daily cycle, the middleweights embody a story often overshadowed by their larger or more dramatic cousins. Their lives are a testament to balance between strength and subtlety, caution and curiosity, solitude and community. They are the steady pulse of the Jurassic forest, creatures shaped by an environment that demands both resilience and grace. Walking alongside them, we see a world of intricate detail, a world where every scent, every sound, every texture matters. The forest breathes with life, a dynamic stage where survival unfolds not just in battles, but in moments of quiet beauty and connection. These middleweights move through their days with a rhythm both ancient and timeless, reminding us that life's story is often found in the small, steady steps as much as in the thunderous roar. So, the next time you imagine dinosaurs, picture this: not just the massive giants or fierce hunters, but the middleweights moving softly beneath Jurassic trees. Living lives rich with subtlety and wonder. Their footsteps echo through time, inviting us to walk with them once more in a world as wild and beautiful as any dream. Chapter 11. Songs of the Earth. Sounds and silence of the dinosaur age. Close your eyes and step into the Mesozoic world, not with your eyes, but with your ears. Imagine standing in the heart of an ancient forest or beside a slow-moving river, where the first rays of dawn weave through towering conifers and broad-leafed cycads. The air is thick with moisture, alive with countless tiny movements, and the soundscape is as rich and varied as the landscape itself. The ground beneath your feet is soft, a mixture of damp mud, fallen leaves, and scattered twigs. Each careful step produces a faint, satisfying crunch or a subtle squelch, as the earth gives way just enough to record your passage. But you're not alone. Around you, the steady, deliberate footfalls of dinosaurs echo softly, a rhythmic drumbeat marking the slow rhythm of life. These aren't the thunderous, earth-shaking steps of massive giants, but the more intimate sounds of mid-sized creatures balanced between power and grace, moving with purpose yet caution. You can almost feel the weight of their bodies pressing into the earth, leaving impressions that tell stories long after the footsteps have faded. Above you, the forest breathes with sound. The wind stirs the leaves of ancient ferns and cycads, whispering secrets as it threads through the canopy. It's a gentle murmur, sometimes a soft sigh, sometimes a sudden rush, carrying the scent of resin and damp earth. This breeze brings life and movement, animating the foliage, teasing the edges of spider webs, and sending flocks of small feathered creatures fluttering into the branches. Listen closely, and you might catch the distant calls of these feathered denizens, chirps and whistles that hint at the connection between dinosaurs and modern birds. These sounds are often soft, delicate, but they carry meaning. Warnings, invitations, expressions of curiosity. Imagine them echoing through the morning air, a chorus of tiny voices harmonizing with the larger symphony of the forest. But not all calls are small. Deep within the shadows, larger dinosaurs communicate with resonant bellows and low frequency growls that rumble through the ground. These sounds can travel great distances, serving as territorial claims or mating calls. Though we can only guess their exact tones, scientists have studied fossilized skulls and air sacs to reconstruct how these mighty voices might have sounded, sometimes likened to the deep hum of a didgeridoo or the low moan of distant thunder. These vocalizations would have shaped the social dynamics of dinosaur communities, a language of strength, warning, and connection. Water adds its own voice to this ancient orchestra. Imagine a stream flowing nearby, its gentle babble soothing and constant. Droplets splash against moss-covered rocks, leaves, and smooth stones, creating a delicate percussion that blends seamlessly with the other sounds. Frogs and amphibians, some still descendants of ancient lineages from the Mesozoic, add croaks and trills near the water's edge. Their voices rise and fall in rhythmic patterns, punctuating the quiet with vibrant life. Insects hum and buzz everywhere, tiny but vital musicians in this prehistoric concert. Some create a soft drone, others a sharp, staccato buzz. Their movements through air and foliage provide a textured backdrop that reminds us just how interconnected all life is. Even the smallest players contributing to the whole. Silence, too, is an essential part of this soundscape. Between calls and movements, there are moments of profound stillness, a pause when even the wind seems to hush, and the forest holds its breath. These quiet intervals allow sounds to resonate more deeply and carry farther. Imagine the eerie calm just before a sudden rustle or a distant roar. Silence in the dinosaur age was not emptiness, but a powerful presence, an invisible thread woven through the day and night, heightening awareness and anticipation. The dinosaurs themselves were keenly tuned to this soundscape. Their hearing was highly developed, adapted to detect not just obvious threats, but subtle changes in the environment. The faint snap of a twig, the flutter of wings, or the shift in wind direction could mean the difference between safety and danger. Some species likely had sensitive ear structures, picking up low-frequency vibrations that humans can barely imagine, allowing them to hear through the ground or across vast distances. Imagine a herd of herbivorous dinosaurs grazing peacefully, communicating with soft grunts and low calls, alert to any sudden change. A predator prowls nearby, perhaps a sleek, stealthy theropod moving through shadows, its own breath nearly silent, ears attuned to the tiniest sounds. The tension builds not with dramatic roars, but with the delicate interplay of noises, footsteps muffled in mud, leaves crushed underfoot, the sharp rustle of disturbed insects. As day shifts to dusk, the forest soundscape transforms. Nocturnal creatures awaken, their calls rising in chorus. Crickets and katydids begin their night song, a rhythmic, hypnotic hum that fills the air. Amphibians croak in melodic patterns near ponds and streams, while distant howls and bellows may warn of predators staking claims in the fading light. Even the wind changes, cooler now, carrying the scents of night-blooming plants and damp earth. The forest seems to breathe differently, alive with mystery and hidden life. Dinosaurs settle into quieter behaviors, some resting, others maintaining watchful vigilance. The sounds of night encourage both caution and wonder as the ancient world wraps itself in a softer, darker cloak. Throughout it all, the sounds of the Mesozoic invite us into a world both alien and familiar. Footsteps in mud, distant calls, wind weaving through ferns, they compose a living, breathing melody of existence. Though millions of years separate us, this ancient music speaks to the enduring rhythms of life, survival, and connection. Listening closely, we find that the dinosaurs' world was never silent. It was filled with songs, some loud, some whisper soft, woven together into a complex symphony that shaped their lives and shaped the very earth beneath their feet. Chapter 12. Oceans of the Ancients. Marine life of the dinosaur era. Imagine yourself slipping beneath the calm surface of a vast prehistoric ocean. The water is cool and clear, yet tinged with the mystery of countless ages. Sunlight filters down in scattered rays, piercing the depths and casting shifting patterns across the underwater world. This is a realm that feels both alien and somehow familiar, a place where life thrives in forms both graceful and strange, where the giants of the sea move with effortless power, and tiny creatures pulse with vibrant energy. The ocean, during the age of dinosaurs, was unlike anything we know today. The continents had not yet settled into their modern shapes. Instead, enormous inland seas stretched far and wide, connecting ecosystems and creating sprawling aquatic highways for countless species. From shallow coastal waters rich with reefs to the deeper, darker ocean basins, this ancient sea was a dynamic and diverse habitat. As you glide gently through the water, the first creatures you might encounter are the ammonites, those elegant spiraled shells that seem almost otherworldly. Floating gently with the currents, ammonites were masters of survival, with delicate tentacles reaching out to capture tiny prey. Their shells, intricately patterned and beautifully coiled, served as both armor and buoyancy devices, allowing them to navigate the ever-changing ocean currents with precision. Fossilized ammonite shells discovered today tell us about the wide range of their sizes, from as small as a coin to as large as a dinner plate, each a little marvel of natural engineering. Among the ammonites, you might spot belemnites ancient, cousins of squids with bullet-shaped internal skeletons that streamlined their swift, darting movements. They propelled themselves by jetting water out in bursts, zipping through the water like underwater missiles. Imagine watching them flash past, their tentacles probing for food, their movement a blur against the backdrop of swaying seaweed and coral-like structures, dot in these underwater forests and reef systems. Vibrant life flourished. Coral reefs, though, different in composition from modern reefs, offered shelter and sustenance to a kaleidoscope of fish and invertebrates. These colorful communities thrived, with sponges, soft corals, and algae painting the seascape in hues of purple, orange, and green. Schools of small fish shimmered like liquid silver as they moved in tight synchrony, a natural defense against predators lurking nearby. But the true giants of this ocean were the marine reptiles, majestic, mysterious, and formidable. The plesiosaurs, with their long necks and sleek, paddle-like limbs, moved through the water like living submarines. Their bodies were perfectly adapted for swimming, with flexible necks that could snap suddenly to catch unsuspecting fish or cephalopods. Some plesiosaurs reached astonishing lengths, over 40 feet, yet they moved with an almost balletic grace, slicing through the water with quiet strength. Picture them gliding past a forest of towering seaweed, their eyes scanning the depths as their long necks weave in slow, deliberate arcs. Not far from these gentle giants, mosasaurs ruled the deeper waters, often called the tyrants of the sea. These powerful reptiles resembled enormous aquatic lizards with muscular bodies, long tails, and jaws packed with razor-sharp teeth. Mosasaurs were the top predators of their time, capable of fast bursts of speed to chase down prey and tear into anything from fish to other marine reptiles. Imagine the sudden flick of their massive tails propelling them through the water with terrifying speed, their keen senses honed for hunting in the dimly lit ocean depths. Yet the ocean was not just a place of giants. It was filled with an astonishing diversity of life, from tiny plankton drifting in the currents to crustaceans scuttling along the ocean floor. Crinoids, or sea lily, dotted the seabed with their delicate feathery arms reaching into the water to catch passing food particles. Trilobites, ancient arthropods with segmented shells, scurried through the sediment, their armored bodies protecting them from predators. The ocean floor itself was a landscape of contrasts: rolling sand dunes sculpted by currents, jagged volcanic ridges, and deep trenches where mysterious creatures lurked. Giant sea turtles lumbered along, their flippers stirring up clouds of sediment as they searched for food or prepared nesting sites. Their thick shells bore the scars of countless encounters, testaments to lives spent navigating these vast, untamed waters. Beneath the surface, the soundscape of this ancient ocean was alive with mystery. Though humans perceive underwater silence, creatures of the Mesozoic likely experienced a world rich with sound, low-frequency rumbles from distant movements, clicks and pulses for communication, and the constant rush of currents through seaweed forests. These sounds would have been essential for navigation, hunting, and social interaction, creating an invisible web of connection beneath the waves. Seasonal changes influenced the ocean's rhythm. Warmer periods brought blooming plankton populations, fueling the food chain and prompting migrations of marine reptiles and fish. Cooler intervals slowed life's pace, demanding adaptability and resilience from every creature. Some species likely traveled vast distances across ocean basins, following the cycles of food and temperature, much like whales and sea turtles. Today, the ocean also bore witness to moments of dramatic change: mass extinctions and evolutionary leaps. Giant marine reptiles rose and fell, ammonites flourished and vanished, and new species constantly emerged from the depths, adapting to shifting environments. These cycles of life and death shape the ocean's legacy, leaving a rich fossil record that scientists study today to unravel the secrets of a world long lost. As you slowly rise back toward the shimmering surface, the sunlight grows stronger, warming the water and casting sparkling patterns across your path. The ancient ocean is not just a place of history. It is a living story of adaptation, survival, and wonder, of the vastness of life on Earth and the mysteries still hidden beneath the waves. Next time you stand at the edge of the sea, imagine the plesiosaurs gliding silently below, the ammonites drifting like underwater stars, and the mighty mosasaurs ruling the depths. The oceans of the dinosaur era were worlds unto themselves, alive with movement, color, and sound, a deep, watery realm where the story of life continued to unfold, long before humans ever walked the land. Chapter 13. The sky belonged to them. Pterosaurs and flying giants. Imagine standing at the edge of a high cliff, the wind gently tugging at your clothes, salty ocean spray misting your face. Above, the sky is vast and endless, painted with hues of soft blues and fiery oranges as the sun begins its slow descent. In this vast aerial stage, creatures unlike any you've ever seen dominate the currents. The pterosaurs, ancient masters of flight, ruling the skies for over 150 million years. These remarkable reptiles weren't dinosaurs, but they were close relatives, sharing the world with the great terrestrial giants below. While dinosaurs stomped across forests and plains, pterosaurs conquered the air, soaring over oceans, lakes, and mountains in ways that still inspire wonder today. Picture a single pterosaur as it launches itself from the cliffside. Its wings, enormous and delicate, stretch wide, thin membranes of skin supported by an elongated fourth finger, almost like the wing of a bat, but much larger and far more flexible. The membrane catches the wind perfectly, taut yet supple, allowing it to catch thermals and glide effortlessly. It doesn't flap like a bird. Instead, it rides the invisible currents, twisting and turning with astonishing grace. The size range among pterosaurs was astonishing. Some were as small as a modern crow, flitting through the air with quick darting movements. Others, like the mighty Quetzalcoatlus, boasted wingspans that stretched up to 33 feet, roughly the length of a small airplane. Imagine the silent awe of watching such a giant launch itself skyward, its shadow briefly blotting out the ground below. Despite its size, it moved with surprising agility, a testament to the perfect balance of strength and lightness. The delicate crests on many pterosaurs' heads add a splash of character to these creatures. Some crests were simple and curved. Others were extravagant, stretching like sails into the air, colored with patterns that may have signaled mates or intimidated rivals. These head ornaments weren't just for show, they played a vital role in aerodynamics, helping stabilize flight or balance during turns. Imagine these flying reptiles as the acrobats of the Mesozoic, using every bit of their anatomy to dance through the sky. Take a moment to consider the challenges of flying in a prehistoric world. The air was denser than today, filled with pollen, spores, and even volcanic ash from the ever-active planet. Weather patterns were dynamic, with sudden storms and thermal updrafts that could toss even the strongest flyer. Pterosaurs had to be masters of the air, sensing the slightest change in wind and adjusting their flight instantly. It was a dangerous but exhilarating life. One wrong move and the sky could become a trap rather than a highway. On the coastlines and inland waters, pterosaurs hunted skillfully. With sharp, pointed beaks, they caught fish slipping beneath the water's surface or snatched up insects on the wing. Their eyesight was keen, evolved to spot movement from great heights, scanning the waves or treetops for prey. Some species had long, slender jaws perfect for snapping up slippery fish, while others had broad, rounded beaks suited for crushing shellfish or scavenging. Imagine the spectacular scene of a pterosaur colony nesting on rocky cliffs or isolated islands, hundreds, perhaps thousands, of these creatures gather together during breeding season. Nesting sites are bustling with activity, adults tending fragile eggs, chicks covered in fuzzy down stretching their tiny wings, practicing the flaps and glides that will soon carry them into independence. The atmosphere hums with soft calls and the rustling of wings, a vibrant community life unfolding far above the land-bound dinosaurs below. And what about those fuzzy coverings? Recent discoveries suggest many pterosaurs were coated in pycnofibers, fine, hair-like structures that covered their bodies much like fur or feathers. These tiny fibers may have helped regulate temperature, keeping them warm at high altitudes or in cooler climates. It's a fascinating insight that changes how we imagine these creatures, not as cold-blooded reptiles, but as warm-blooded, complex animals adapted to a demanding lifestyle. Beyond their physicality, pterosaurs are a story of evolutionary innovation. Their wing structure was a masterpiece, balancing strength, flexibility, and lightness. The bones were hollow yet strong, reducing weight without sacrificing durability. Muscles were perfectly arranged for launching, gliding, and controlling their flight with subtle, precise movements. Unlike birds whose wings are primarily formed from feathers, pterosaurs' membranous wings gave them unique flight capabilities, able to soar silently, dart through tight spaces, or ride gusts of wind for hours. Their behavior was just as fascinating. Many pterosaurs were social creatures, nesting and traveling in groups. Some species may have performed elaborate courtship displays, using their crests, vocalizations, or even intricate aerial acrobatics to attract mates. Picture a display where several males launch into the sky, twisting and diving in synchronized patterns, a prehistoric dance of romance and competition played out high. Above the ancient forests, flying was essential not only for hunting, but for survival. Pterosaurs used their ability to soar to migrate across vast distances, following food sources or seasonal changes. Fossil evidence suggests some species made long coastal flights, navigating using landmarks or the sun's position. This migration was crucial for escaping predators, finding mates, or colonizing new habitats. The fossil record gives us glimpses of their lives, extraordinary bone beds filled with dozens of individuals, fossilized footprints showing takeoff and landing spots, and even preserved soft tissues revealing wing membranes and pycnofiber coverings. Each discovery adds a new piece to the puzzle, helping scientists reconstruct not only what pterosaurs looked like, but how they lived, hunted, and thrived. Despite their reign over the skies, pterosaurs faced challenges. Competition from early birds grew as feathered creatures evolved flight in different ways, introducing new dynamics into the aerial ecosystem. Changing climates, habitat shifts, and the eventual mass extinction event at the end of the Cretaceous sealed their fate, ending an incredible chapter of life's story. As twilight descends, imagine those last pterosaurs folding their wings against their bodies, settling into nests among rocky crags or forest canopies. The sky cools, stars begin to shimmer, and a hush falls over the ancient world. Tomorrow the winds will call them again to soar, to hunt, and to live their remarkable lives in the endless skies. Their legacy remains in fossils, in the very air we breathe, and in the soaring flight of modern birds that trace their distant ancestry. The skies of the Mesozoic were theirs, a realm of freedom, grace, and mystery that still captures our imagination today. Chapter 14. Twilight of the Titans, the final days of the dinosaurs with even richer, more expansive narrative. Detail, weaving in vivid scenes, emotional reflections, and subtle hints of the looming extinction. Here's a significantly extended version designed to flow smoothly for bedtime storytelling and reach well beyond 2,000 words, as the last golden rays of sunlight slip behind distant mountain ranges. The ancient world breathes its final sigh before an unimaginable transformation. The dinosaurs, majestic, powerful, diverse, move through their days unaware that their reign is drawing to a close. This is the twilight of the Titans, a quiet and reflective moment, wrapped in the soft hum of life that had thrived for millions of years. It is a time before catastrophe, before skies would darken and earth would tremble, when the world still pulsed with the steady rhythm of survival. Imagine vast sweeping landscapes bathed in warm, gentle light. Endless forests stretch beyond the horizon, their towering conifers and early flowering plants swaying with the breeze. Underneath, a carpet of ferns and cycads covers the ground, soft and lush, rustling softly as herds of hadrosaurs wander through, their footsteps muffled by layers of fallen leaves and rich soil. Nearby, great sauropods, those slow-moving giants with necks stretched like the trunks of ancient trees, graze peacefully, stripping leaves from the tallest branches in an almost meditative dance. Despite the calm, subtle signs hint at the shifting tides beneath the surface. The climate is no longer the stable paradise it once was. Pockets of dryness appear in places once lush, while elsewhere, rains fall heavier and more erratically. These changes ripple through ecosystems, nudging some species to adapt while pushing others toward the brink. It's a world in flux, a slow, natural evolution, but one that, in hindsight, feels like the opening notes of a final symphony. Among these shifting landscapes roam the predators, the fierce Tyrannosaurus rex, the swift and cunning dromaeosaurs, and others whose roles as hunters shape the delicate balance of life. Their muscles ripple beneath thick hides as they stalk their prey, eyes sharp and senses honed. Even they, the kings of their domains, are part of this changing world, vulnerable in ways few could imagine. The dinosaurs' daily lives are filled with quiet moments that echo through the ages. Nesting grounds buzz softly with life as mothers tend to eggs tucked safely beneath protective foliage or within shallow earth nests. The tender care of these prehistoric parents is often overlooked, but is a poignant reminder that these were living, breathing families bonded by instinct and affection. Young hatchlings, covered in downy fuzz, stumble and learn to walk, the first tentative steps of a journey shaped by survival. Above them, the skies are alive with movement. Pterosaurs glide gracefully, wings spanning wide against the backdrop of the setting sun. Their silhouettes trace elegant arcs as they search for fish or insects, masters of the air in this ancient realm. Early birds flit among the branches, their feathers catching the fading light, a sign of evolutionary innovation quietly unfolding beneath the surface of rivers and seas. Marine reptiles patrol plesiosaurs with their long necks sweeping through the water like underwater sentinels, mosasaurs powerful and sleek, ruling the deep with silent strength. The entire biosphere pulses with interconnected life, each creature part of a vast, intricate web. Yet, even in this vibrant tableau there is a growing tension, a fragile thread weaving through the fabric of existence. Fossil records from this time reveal subtle signs, changes in bone structure hinting at stress, alterations in growth rates suggesting environmental pressures. Some species show shrinking populations, their fossil footprints becoming fewer as ecosystems strain under invisible forces. The ground beneath the feet of these giants hides secrets of cosmic scale. Far beyond the atmosphere, a comet races toward Earth, its approach silent and unseen, yet destined to reshape life forever. No dinosaur senses this approaching shadow. No bird hears the distant echo of change. In these final peaceful days, the Earth itself seems to pause, as if holding its breath. The balance of life hangs delicately, a dance practiced for millennia, now edging toward a sudden and dramatic finale. As twilight deepens, imagine a lone Triceratops herd settling near a gentle river, the adults circling protectively around calves as the stars begin to twinkle overhead. A T-Rex in the distance lets out a low, rumbling call, a reminder that the struggle for life continues, even as the world waits in silence. This is not just a story of endings, but of endurance, of life's stubborn persistence in the face of Change. The final days of the dinosaurs invite us to reflect on the beauty of the ordinary, the soft rustle of leaves, the ripple of water, the warm glow of the setting sun. It's a moment frozen in time, a quiet farewell whispered on the wind. In the end, the twilight of the Titans is a chapter of reflection and awe. It reminds us of the fleeting nature of life and the extraordinary resilience that defines all creatures, great and small. As we listen to the whispers of this ancient world, we find not just the end of an era, but the seeds of a new beginning, one that would eventually give rise to the world as we know it today. Chapter 15. Dreaming Forward. How dinosaurs still live in us. It's quiet now. The great herds have gone. The last forests of the Mesozoic have long since crumbled into layers of stone. The thunderous footsteps, the rustle of fronds under giant claws, the haunting cries of feathered hunters. All silent. And yet, somehow, they're still here. You hear them in the song of a robin at dawn. You see them in the twitch of a sparrow's head, the way it tilts its eye toward you with curious intelligence. You feel them in the sweep of a hawk's wing as it cuts the sky in silence. Dinosaurs never truly vanished. They adapted, evolved, and transformed not just into birds, but into something even more enduring. Wonder. To say that birds are living dinosaurs isn't poetic exaggeration. It's scientific truth. They are not descendants of dinosaurs in the way humans descend from apes. No, they are dinosaurs. Feathered theropods, cousins of the mighty T-Rex, simply found another path through time. One that allowed them to survive the great extinction and inherit the skies. In the smallest backyard finch, in the peacock's extravagant display, in the emperor penguin's careful parenting, the story of dinosaurs continues, feather by feather, heartbeat by heartbeat. And isn't that remarkable? For over 160 million years, dinosaurs reigned. Long before humans stood upright or lit their first fire, dinosaurs had already lived and thrived, shaped by wind, water, and time. They weathered volcanoes, drifting continents, shifting climates. Some grew to the size of buildings. Others stayed no larger than a house cat. Some ran, some swam, some flew. They were not just monsters or movie stars. They were mothers, hunters, scavengers, builders, singers, survivors. And then, one terrible day, everything changed. The sky darkened. Fire fell. Seas rose. The earth shuddered. And in the span of geological seconds, 75% of all life was gone. The age of dinosaurs had ended. Or so we thought, but evolution is a stubborn storyteller. One small lineage, tiny, feathered, warm-blooded, weathered the storm. Nestled in burrows, roosting in trees, feeding on what little was left, these protobirds endured. And when the ash settled and the earth slowly healed, they took flight, literally. The age of mammals had begun, but the sky still belonged to dinosaurs. Science has slowly peeled back the layers of this legacy. In the past few decades, we've learned more about dinosaurs than in the entire previous century. We know they had feathers, hollow bones, warm blood, and complex behaviors. Some brooded their eggs like birds. Some communicated with low-frequency calls that rumbled through the ground like elephants. Some likely mated for life. Paleontology is no longer just about bones. It's about biology, behavior, ecosystems. And as we peer more closely at the fossil record, something magical happens. Dinosaurs stop being movie monsters and start becoming animals again. Real, living, breathing beings. You begin to see them not just as relics, but as relatives. Imagine a velociraptor, not the human-sized terror of cinema, but a real, turkey-sized animal with a body covered in feathers, a stiff tail for balance, and bright, intelligent eyes. It chirps softly to its mate as it stalks the underbrush. Cautious, calculating. That's not science fiction. That's science. Or picture a mother Maiasaura, good mother lizard, gently turning her eggs, feeding her hatchlings regurgitated food, protecting them from predators. Fossil nests prove it. Their parenting was complex. Their social structure was advanced. Now look again at the birds we share our lives with. The crow that solves puzzles. The pigeon that remembers faces. The penguin that travels miles to return to its mate. These aren't just bird behaviors, they are dinosaur behaviors, refined over eons. We walk through a world built by their legacy. Every time we hear a bird sing, we are hearing the voice of survival, the ancient music of evolution. But their survival isn't just physical, it's also psychological, cultural, emotional. Dinosaurs live in our stories, our art, our childhood dreams. Ask almost any child to name a dinosaur, and they will light up. T-Rex, Triceratops, Stegosaurus. Their eyes widen, voices rise. Why? Why does a creature long dead still excite something so primal in us? Because they're real, but just distant enough to feel magical. Unlike dragons or unicorns, dinosaurs really did exist. We can touch their bones, measure their teeth, walk in their fossilized footprints. And yet, they're impossibly ancient. They straddle the line between reality and myth, and that makes them irresistible. They represent mystery, power, awe. They remind us that the world was not always like this. That Earth has chapters we've never read. That our time here is just a sliver of the grand story. Dinosaurs humble us and inspire us. Every museum skeleton is a monument to time. Every fossil is a moment captured forever. And every child who falls in love with dinosaurs joins a lineage of dreamers, scientists, artists, and explorers who keep asking, what else is out there? What else has walked this earth? Even adults, long past the days of toy dinosaurs and picture books, carry that spark. We see it in the popularity of documentaries, in the success of movies, in the constant hunger for discovery. Dinosaurs are not a phase. They are a portal to the past, to our imagination, and to the future. And their story isn't finished right now. Deep beneath layers of rock in deserts and cliffs and mountains, more fossils lie waiting. Entire species still unknown to science. Bones of animals that have never been named, whose stories have not yet been told. We are still discovering new dinosaurs every single year, and not just the huge ones. Some are no larger than a chicken. Some are covered in feathers like parakeets. Some are so strange, they rewrite what we thought we knew about evolution. As technology advances, 3D scanning, CT imaging, even ancient protein analysis, we get closer and closer to seeing the living animal beneath the fossil. We can estimate their colors, their diets, their movement. One day, we might even glimpse their voices, the way they sounded, the calls they made to each other in the dark. Dinosaurs are not frozen in stone. They are evolving in our understanding, in real time. And as we face our own environmental challenges, their story becomes more than just fascinating. It becomes instructive. What causes mass extinction? What happens when ecosystems collapse? What does resilience look like? How does life return after darkness? In the shadows of extinction, we find hope, because even after fire and ice, after darkness and death, something rose, a bird, a song, a flight. So tonight, as you lay your head on the pillow, think of them. Not just as the thunder lizards of the past, but as the soft-winged survivors outside your window. The ones who perch on wires, dart through morning skies, and remind us, every single day, that time bends, that life adapts, and that the ancient world is never truly gone. Think of the dreams they inspire, of the questions they leave behind, of the quiet thrill that still rises in your chest when you hear that word whispered softly. Dinosaur. They walk with us, in science, in imagination, in every soaring bird, every childhood drawing, every fossil, carefully dusted from the stone. The age of dinosaurs may have ended. But their story is still unfolding, and you're a part of it.